For this second venture, Pedrarias let me recruit 60 men. We left from the Levant, Panama, which was the starting point of the expeditions to the Poniente, the lands to be discovered. On this my first voyage, we departed not knowing the whereabouts of Francisco. We sailed past Chachama, and we saw none of them. Previously we had decided that as they were advancing to make marks with their swords on the trees, so that we would know where they were. Following the markings we arrived to Port Aquamado. We only found the graves of some Spaniards with their shoes hanging from their crosses. I knew that he had been there, and they probably were all killed. We also noticed that the Indians had been following us, and they showed up from nowhere to attack us. As a good Spaniard from Almagro, I confronted them. But I was overtaken, and I passed out. Out of fear? No. An arrow hit in one of my eyes. Our black slave saved my life. When I woke up, the Indians were retreating. Jesus! My eye was gushing. I knew I had lost it. Which one? Indiano. It is not enough that I lost one eye, and I still have the other to see the light of God to save the Indians from the darkness in which they live? Almagro. How I wish they had emptied both of your eyes, so that your soul without a vision felt that we were and are human beings. Mierda. If I were to tell you of the pain I suffered, you would not desire that on anyone. All I know now is that I am a one-eyed man, El Tuerto, and my destiny changed. Yes, it did. You are not going to die from the arrows of the Indians, but by the sword of your partners. I knew I had enemies. Knowing what happened to us, we thought that Pizarro had the same fate. We sailed farther south until we ran into the mouth of a large river, which we called Rio San Juan. The Indians didn't seem to be aggressive, and they were dressed. We entered their villages, and took all the gold that we could find. We were too few to stay or to keep on going. I decided to return to give the news that Francisco's first expedition had failed, and initiate a second excursion. Once in the Isla de las Perlas we heard that Rivera had gone to Panama, and Pizarro stayed in Chachama. We immediately crossed the Gulf of St. Michael, and found Francisco with very few of his men. Almagro. What happened to you? You have lost an eye, and I almost lost a leg. Only God knows what for. These places are not for Christians, but for these devilish Indians. No, Francisco. I went farther than you have gone. I saw Indians who are different than the savages that we are used to. We should go back to Rio San Juan with more resources, and continue south by land or by sea. Then you must return to entice the governor to let us renew the exploration. I will wait for you. In Panama, Almagro went to see Pedrarias, who had already heard of the loss of men that he himself needed to fight his insurrecting captain in Nicaragua. He didn't want to hear any more stories of the failed expedition. Governor. I know that Francisco hasn't accomplished much, but this is just the beginning of our venture. I have seen vestiges of a civilization that will make us rich. Here is the gold to prove that what I am saying is true. You should be the last one to speak. You have lost an eye. What do you want to lose next, your life? If I do give permission, it will be under another captain or a different expedition. Pedrarias. You also have illicit money invested in this adventure. Now that we are into something, you want to take possession of our association. I am a man of God. I shall not absolve you of your sins, unless you let my partners carry on with the second expedition. Luque. I will let Almagro go, only if I name another captain instead of Francisco. Why would want to do that? Pizarro is loyal to the crown, and the church. Be reasonable. Why not name Almagro? You will have a second captain who is one of us. Father, under those conditions I will let Almagro and Francisco continue. For this second voyage they drafted a new contract, the Enterprise of Peru. In the absence of Francisco, someone signed on his behalf. Almagro put a sign of the cross, as he could not write or read. the influential Luque was able to obtain illicit money to get another boat. After a short cruise it was certified seaworthy and named the San Cristobal. Almagro recruited 160 men, the experienced pilot Bartolomé Ruiz, and the well-known artilleryman Pedro de Candia. According to Dutherburu, Pizarro had been in Chachama 6 months, Almagro spent 3 months in Panama, and 9 months later, in December 1525, he sailed to join Francisco for the second expedition. Francisco had taken 114 men in his first expedition, and he lost half of his men. The new venture would consist of 210 men. The numbers are conjectures, 1 more or 2 less didn't change history, it just tells the minimal cost in lives that it took them to find and destroy an empire. Thus, man of the future, in my absence and after partaking of the sacred bread, they swore allegiance to the new enterprise. Again, your partners involved God in the liquidation of human beings on his behalf. Alma del Condor, we did anything for God, king, and honor. Killing was part of it. It is the passion for these ideals that you Indians lack, and why you are still the same savages that we knew. Let us continue with our second voyage that is a story to tell, because we suffered as much as all the weight in gold that we took from Peru. What do you have to say about the misery that you caused our people? KVA. The Indians were never our concern. We only wanted their souls for God. There is no hypocrisy in expressing what you felt about them, unlike others who don't say what they think and they do exactly what you did to the Indians. I would say the same for you who belittles me with your knowledge, like some Indians and mestizos who use their education to undermine their own people. Incas. Don Francisco. Mierda. Pretty soon you are going to ask me to call the Indians, Spaniards. Many of them would like nothing better than to be called Hispanics or Latinos, as is happening in North America. I don't sanctify myself, I was one of them. But, thanks to the great ideals of my adaptive country, it has taken me a long time to accept part of my mixed lineage. Perhaps it is all right to be called Indian, as long one is treated as a human being. You are contradicting yourself. You said that you want to do away with the word Indian. Now, you are telling me that you wouldn't care if they call you by that surname. By definition, if you are an Indian you are not a human being. At least, they were not in my times.